You're listening to Under the Shell Podcast. After all these years, still the best in America.
Welcome to Under the Shell, presented by Inside the Black and Gold. I'm Brendan Weissel.
Sam Jane, no laptop today, just a phone.
No laptop like Buzz Williams and Michael Howes. And this week we've got on David Mendez of the Maryland baseball team to talk about the upcoming season with opening day on Friday. Our next guest on the podcast is Maryland junior utility player and transfer new addition to this year's team, David Mendez. David, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
So let's break down your decision to come to Maryland this past offseason. Kind of what led you to join the Terps? What intrigued you about coming to College Park?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I talked to Swope, the idea of his development on the individual versus other colleges really don't get into your individual and how you move and stuff like that. So the way he kind of told me he would attack me as a player and what changes he would make and things he saw that were inefficient, it really stood out to me and made me love the idea of coming here and playing for him.
Tell me a little bit about that kind of player development focus that they have at Maryland. How did that kind of separate Maryland from other schools you were looking at this past offseason?
Yeah, it kind of comes routines like every day. Like everyone has their individualized routine starting like as soon as we get to the field. What part of our body we need to really loosen out, what we need to activate, some drills we need to get in the cage work, and they're all separate between the players. So it's like really nice having your own routine to get after every day and staying consistent with it.
So obviously at Dayton in your freshman year in 2024, you were A-10 freshman of the year. You put up some pretty impressive numbers. You were batting .342, had 9 doubles, 47 runs, 2 triples, 6 homers. What makes you believe that you can put up similar numbers here at Maryland after maybe a little bit of a down year last year at Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I'd say it's just the consistency day to day. I think I got away from the consistent things at Vanderbilt a little bit, like routines and how I showed up to the ballpark. So I think this year it's kind of been getting back to the basics and kind of relearning myself and knowing what I need to do to stay consistent throughout the year.
Right. And obviously, after that big year at Dayton, you get looks from other big profile schools in college baseball that leads to your decision to go to Vanderbilt. And you kind of talked about it there. You kind of got away from the basics a little bit. What have you learned about yourself in this time period since coming to Maryland, since that Vanderbilt year? What have you learned about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, 2 different years of college, obviously polar opposites, but kind of just relying on the guys next to you to kind of compete every day and pushing you to get better and kind of doing it as a team. So kind of really pushing on the guys next to you.
Before we get back to the show, a quick word from our sponsor. The Catalyst to the Game is brought to you by Catalyst Hot Dogs. Catalyst brought the Jersey Dog to the DMV, featuring premium dry-aged Black Angus all-beef hot dogs made in Maryland, served with handmade toppings including hot onions, relish, and their signature chili sauce. And don't forget their original garlic knot dogs. Catalyst always offers vegan dogs as well as gluten-free buns because Catalyst has food for everyone. Find them in Sekou Stadium in Section 14 and the Xfinity Center in Section 210. Tell the people a hot dog is a sandwich. All right, now here's more Under the Shell. Obviously, I mean, you're a utility player. You can play anywhere on the field. Do you have any idea where you might be sliding in for this Terps team?
Yeah, I've been working in a lot at second base, so I'd imagine I'd be working in there. But, I mean, I obviously have a lot of outfield experience too, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Playing next to you in that infield will be freshman Ty Kunis. He's gotten some great reviews so far heading into this season. What do you think that is going to come from the young guy playing at short this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really polished bat. He's really good. I mean, one of the best freshmen I've played with, and I mean, he's in for a big year. So I'm excited to see what he does. I'm excited to be alongside him, and I'm also excited to give him some tips. If any struggles happen, I'm one of my guys, so I'm really there for him. So I'm excited to see him have a great year.
Right. And outside of Ty, this is a pretty impressive freshman class for the Terps entering this season. Other than Ty, there's a couple others who also are supposed to have some big roles this year. freshman pitcher Austin Weiss. Once he returns from injury, he's going to have a big year. Obviously, Bud Coombs in the outfield. Tell me about those young guys on the team and what you think that they're going to contribute this season.
Yeah, I think they'll be a big part of our success this year. I mean, I think they'll push us to our limits and really give us a high ceiling that we want, and kind of kind of being there for them. I mean, when I was a freshman and sophomore, I didn't really push into the guys as much as I could have. So we as a team kind of just want to be there for them at all times, whether they're succeeding or having a tough weekend. So just making sure they can stay consistent. So kind of being there for them all the time.
And obviously, in this new era of college athletics, not just for college baseball, but college athletics as a whole, you see this in rosters where year in and year out, it's going to look a little bit different for each team. And this year for Maryland, there's a lot of names from last year's roster that fans grew to love. Maybe Eddie Akopian, Chris Akopian, Kyle McCoy on the mound. This is a pretty new roster this year for Maryland baseball fans. And obviously, this is a program, too, that 2 years under Coach Matt Swope haven't been able to reach the postseason. And why do you think that this year for the Terps can be a turnaround for Swope and get back into the postseason where they were a couple years ago?
Yeah, I think just the versatility of our team is different. We're super deep. We have power bats, we got speed, we got defense, we got a deep pitching rotation. So I mean, we've gone back to the basics this year and just every day went at it, hitting, defense, like getting after it, taking all the reps, winning every single day. So I think the mentality going into this year has been different, in my opinion. I obviously haven't been around for the previous teams, but I've been alongside some winning cultures, and I think the mentality and the effort and the consistency every single practice has been there. So I'm excited to see what the group can do this year.
What do you think is going to surprise fans most about this year's team?
I think our depth offensively is really impressive. I think we have a bunch of guys that can really hit, and I'm excited to see the different lineups that come in because I'm sure it's not going to be easy to put just 9 out there day one.
Right. Pitching wise, I think that's been probably the biggest question mark for this Terps team the past few years. What have you seen so far from fall ball, from these winter practices entering the season that you think the pitching staff, and you mentioned it, that it's a pretty deep staff that they got this season. What do you think is going to surprise people about the Terps pitching this season?
Yeah, I think the mentality of the staff is really good right now, just how they're attacking hitters right away. I think we're a really deep staff, and we got some great arms coming in this year, and I think their stuff plays and just their mentality to just really get after the hitters kind of been different this year. It's been nice to watch. It's been progressively growing too, so it's been great to watch. This preseason has been awesome watching them pitch, so I'm excited to see what they do too.
Awesome. Is there any fun facts about you that Terps fans should know?
Yeah, I got a brother in a wheelchair named Diego. He's awesome. I mean, he should be at all the games. So if anyone wants to come up to him and say what's up, he'll be cheering. You'll hear him. So
yeah. Obviously, you grew up in Virginia. You played high school ball in Virginia. Were you aware of the Maryland program when you were in high school?
Yeah.
Where they were in the regionals. I think they hosted a regional while you were in high school. Were you aware of the program then?
Yeah. When I was in high school, Maryland was on their big run on regional hosting and all that, all those games. I actually tried to make it out to the regional, but I think I had a baseball game that day. But I definitely tuned in, and it was awesome to watch the success from that Maryland teams.
Yeah. Were you recruited by Maryland coming out of high school?
Out of high school, no.
Okay. Was that a school you wanted to go to, or you were looking at?
Yeah. I mean, I love being close to home, obviously, because I love my fam. So anything close to home, Maryland, that's an hour away from my house, which is awesome. So definitely would have been a school I would be interested in back in high school.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, now your family is going to be able to come to a little bit more games this year due to the proximity. You said your brother is going to be at nearly every home game. So that's all the questions I got right now. David, appreciate you for joining the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Michael. Appreciate it.
Good luck Friday.
If you weren't fired up listening to some baseball preview, I don't know who you are. You're probably not Michael Howes, I can tell you that much, because this young man is ready to see some action at the Bob. We all are. But before we get into that, let's talk hoops, guys. Men's and women's basketball. Women's bounce back with a couple of strong wins. We've been talking about the men's first. I'm kind of tired about talking Buzz Williams teams, so let's talk about Brenda's squad. The women's basketball team, after a down week, Brendan really had kind of struggled a little bit. They pulled out a big win against Nebraska, beating the Cornhuskers by 18. That was a good bounce back win. And before that, on February 4th, they beat Michigan State on the road, 86-70. Their first ranked win since they beat, I want to say, Kentucky. It would have been. Yeah, I think that was their first ranked win this season, other than Kentucky. They also beat Princeton, who was ranked, I'm pretty sure. So impressive stuff for Brenda's squad. Offense bounced back, especially against Michigan State. You saw some of the balanced scoring that we kind of predicted. They hit 36% of their threes, which is always a good thing. Aluchi Okinawa just continues to excel. She's been better than I even expected, guys. I mean, against Michigan State, she scores 23 points, goes 8 of 13 from the field, which is awesome. She's averaging 17 a game, which I think is even higher than any of us expected. And then against Nebraska, she drops a calm 14, but shoots 50% from the field, grabs 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals, which is what she was really known for at Duke. Impressive 2-game stretch there for Brenda's team. Brendan, how big is it for them to just get back on track, it feels like, and especially pick up a huge rank win? Because you look at this team's resume, they don't have a ton of quad one, high profile wins, and that is definitely one of them.
Yeah, the Michigan State game was an absolutely massive win. You mentioned it, they had, when you look at the rest of their schedule, they had 3 games that were much easier, and they had 4 games that were going to be pretty tough. The Michigan State game was obviously one of those tougher games. You said it, Aluchi, 23 points in 23 minutes. What I noticed really was the balanced scoring. I don't know if Brenda listens to the podcast, but I had mentioned, hey, why don't you play Mira McLean? Give her a run. Very good defender. We saw it last year in some of those more important March Madness games. And she can score too. She put up 10 points in 24 minutes against Michigan State. And that probably was the difference. She came back against Nebraska a couple days later, 16 minutes, scored 6 points. That might have been the spark they needed, as their depth, as we mentioned, has, really gotten hurt throughout the entire year. Mira McLean kind of been that X factor step up, taking some of the load defensively off of Aluchi and allowed the Terps to have a more balanced scoring. I mean, that's why they won those 2 games. They were able to get everybody involved from the jump, and that's what hurt them in the Washington-Oregon game. Saylor, Addy, and Yarden had trouble scoring early in some of those games. Not in all of them. Addy played pretty well in a couple of those, but being able to get everybody involved from the start, which they did in the Nebraska and the Michigan State game, is what's led to their success and really a turnaround point. Those 2 wins were as they look forward. As we said last week, with only 5 games to go, they'll get Penn State at home this week on Thursday. They'll win that one. They got travel to Ohio State. That's going to be a very tough game. They get Purdue and Northwestern after that at home, both easier games. I would expect Maryland to win. And then they get Michigan on the road. I think for this team, you guys will probably agree, if they can pick off Ohio State and Michigan, or pick off Ohio State or Michigan on the road to end of the year, that would be, you're going 4-1 through these final 5 would be a strong way to end the season. I think you'd probably prefer to win the Michigan game right before the Big Ten tournament to get some more momentum, but a team that was really on a slide picked up 2 humongous wins.
Yeah, and that was a good outlook by Brendan of what's upcoming. But real quick, just want to say, they needed that pair of wins, that string of wins there to even just spark a little bit of momentum here late into the season, especially after that 4-game losing streak. To get a ranked win on the road, part of a road trip, I think that's going to help the team a lot going forward, just confidence-wise, feeling more comfortable, more confident on the court. They really needed that.
Absolutely, and they struggled in close games. Close games in the end. They hadn't been producing. They played well in some of them early in the year, but during that 4-game stretch, the Oregon and the Washington game, the best way to not lose a close game is to not be in a close game in the fourth quarter, and that's exactly what they did in both those games.
It's crazy to think that Aluchi was coming off the bench at Duke. What were they doing over there?
And they just jumped up to a 4 seed in Joe Lunardi's.
They're back on the 4 line.
On the 4 line, which is obviously a huge benefit for women's basketball, because you get to host a home game, obviously, in the tournament too, if you win. In terms of in the future outlook, Brendan, you talked a little bit about kind of what this team needs. I think as we head down the stretch run, obviously you want to, get that top 4 seed, But I think the biggest thing that I want to see from this team is just their ability to really display offensive versatility, right? They're not just going to magically add a bunch of depth. Like that's not, Mir McLean can play a little more, definitely. I think that, she's going to get more tick as we move forward. But the scoring versatility, I think, is what's going to define this team, right? Because at its best, you have 3 or 4 high-level scorers, right? Alucci's shown that she can be, a number 1 at best, a number 2 at worst. Yarden Garzon has proven herself as a more than capable top scoring option. And then Sailor Parfenbarger's kind of not, I don't want to say fallen off, but she's definitely regressed a little bit recently. Getting her back to kind of where she was at the beginning of the year would be great. She's averaging 10 points a game right now, but if you can get her up to that 12, 13 point a game margin, and then you add in a scorer like Addie Mack, that's the type of versatility I think you want to see. And I think you've seen more of it in their winning stretch here. Sailor had 13 and 8. Addie scored in double figures against Sparty too. Like that stretch of kind of versatile, complete scoring is how this team is going to win. And I think that's what I'd like to see going forward.
Yeah, this team has the offensive star power to, as we said, give a team a run for their money like they did in the Sweet 16 last year. I think that's a pretty similar outlook for this team. They have the offensive star power to make a Sweet 16. I think I just lost a lot of confidence in them over that 4-game stretch when they couldn't close out games and the offensive production was lackluster. They'd go up early in games and they didn't have everybody involved, and then their defensive effort would lack. And that's kind of why I said, 2 weeks ago, they need someone defensively to set the tone like Mir McLean. And that's obviously helped them in the past 2 games. But really the big tests are going to be Ohio State and Michigan. They can pick off one of those games. They probably stay on the 4 line. If not, it's going to be harder to justify them having a home game. Obviously, the Big Ten tournament will matter a bit, but they did not fare great in the Big Ten tournament last year. So they're going to be right on that 4 line. Probably, I would say they'll finish either a 3, 4, 5, or 6 seed, depending on the last 5 and change goes for them.
Yeah, you mentioned Mir McLean really quick before we go on. Rainey Wilson came back the past 2 games, the freshman, and she played pretty solid, especially against Nebraska. Had a really good game. She scored 13 points. I think that was a career high, and 4 assists in 23 minutes. So if she's providing you quality minutes off the bench as a backup guard, then that's a really solid piece too to add.
Absolutely. Just taking some of the stress away from Alucci and giving other players obviously a chance to get involved offensively, like we said. That's all for the women's game. Sam said he didn't really want to talk about it, but the news of the day was the Buzz Williams press availability. Mike Howes, you were in College Park this afternoon. A lot went down. Break down the scope of what happened. Obviously, you hadn't had press availability in a while in the middle of a week. Why has that been, and what went down at the press conference?
Right. It was about 2 months since Buzz Williams had a press availability in the middle of the week, like you said. The reasons given by the athletic department, they said winter break. They also pointed to the NFL playoffs, even though neither the Commanders nor the Ravens were in them. But those are reasons that Buzz had not had a midweek availability like that. There was also talks, we mentioned it last week, about the radio show. Buzz Williams had not been on his radio show since December 9th. I actually looked it up. It seems like these coaches are having less radio show appearances other than Loxley, who keeps going on. But in 2021,
God bless his soul. God bless his soul.
Mark Turgeon's last year, 2021, he was on 11 radio shows. Buzz Williams only scheduled for 5 this year. So there's a discrepancy there too. And there became a narrative that Buzz.
How many did Willard do?
How many did Willard do?
Yeah.
Give me 1 sec. I have the stats.
Sorry, I put you on the spot. That's my bad. Hey, hand up, bad podcasting on my end. That's my bad.
Kevin Willard did 7 last season. He did 6 the year before that. Buzz is just doing 5 this year. Purge did, it wasn't 11, it was actually 14 in 2021. So they're doing less radio shows. Regardless, there is a narrative that Buzz is not doing as much media. He's running from the recent results, and today he just kind of shot that down. He said, there is some narrative out there that is not true. I'm not dodging anything. So that cleared a lot of noise there when he said that, for sure.
I kind of agree with him, honestly. I kind of agree. I kind of agree with that.
Okay.
But I haven't been in the press conference rooms. Michael will have a better perspective, but I listened to all the press conferences, and from my understanding, he will get a question, he'll answer it, in full and probably too much depth, honestly.
I don't think that's what the issue is. I think the issue is just like kind of a lack of outreach when you're a new coach coming into a new situation. Like the fans want to see you more, they want to hear you more. Obviously, there's the built-in kind of frustration of the year already. So when it seems like you're just taking off less time, where you could be out at Lido's in College Park meeting fans, people will get upset by that. Like, who's going to Lido's to listen to Josh Chambers?
Josh Chambers is a pretty interesting guy. I gave that guy a follow on Instagram. I thoroughly enjoy looking at his stories. But anyway,
only Brendan.
I know. You got to be a real sicko like me to follow and enjoy that. Your point still stands, Mike.
Yeah.
I think he kind of acknowledged some of that though today in the press conference as well. Like he acknowledged the results have not been what you want to be. I don't remember who asked the question. It might have been you about. There's been a lot of other first-year coaches who have succeeded. He acknowledged that that's true.
Baltimore Sun, Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor asked him. I mean, he acknowledged that's been true. He's not, naive to the fact that this has not been the season he wanted or any Maryland fan has wanted. I do understand some of the frustration from the media availability aspect. I wonder if that's more of a journalist thing or if fans are like, I can't believe he's not speaking to the media after the Minnesota win. Like, I don't know how blown out of proportion that is from a journalist perspective because they want to write a story, they want to have the narrative. Of course, like a fan cares about that.
The Minnesota thing. I'll also say this: like, I feel like they can do Zooms post game. I don't think that's a crazy.
Sure.
I don't think that's a crazy thing, and I noticed that too. It's like why can't we do this? It's that easy. So it does feel like when you've got the radio show on top of that, it just feels like there's less media that could be done. Maybe that's not Buzz's fault. That's just like
what's happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Brendan. And I think that this discussion ultimately boils down to this. If Buzz Williams was winning and not doing press conferences, fans wouldn't care. If Buzz Williams was losing and doing press conferences, they would still be upset, right? Like
I completely agree with Sam.
This is ultimately what this boils down to. And I think that there are 100%. He could take more accountability. He could show up to pressers more. He could try to engage with the fans more. I think that is all a completely fair critique of Buzz. I don't think he's done enough of that in year one. But at the same time, right, like you can do all of that and fans are still going to be upset by the fact that they have 2 Big Ten wins, like that. No amount of community outreach, of media appearances, of radio shows that you do is going to fix that. And the only way he can really cure the fan base's, I guess, tenor or frustration right now is by winning next year.
Right.
And that makes it frustrating for us as the media, right? Because absolutely, I'd love to have more availability with Buzz. I think we could tell better stories about who this guy is. I think we could get to know this team a little more. And those are all issues that I think are fair to bring up. But Brendan's question about how much do fans ultimately care about this? Sure, there might be like the super passionate fan who's like, I can't really hear about what this guy's vision is for the program. But the casual fan has tuned this team out months ago, and that's because they're not winning. So whether he shows up to his radio appearance or not, they're just disappointed by the fact that Maryland sucks.
I think that's super fair. I mean, he could go hand out pizzas to everybody in line, go to the frats and pump up the games. People aren't going to return to the games if you get blown out by 30. He knows that. It's just kind of a fact of the business, right? I completely agree with what Sam is saying. And the frustration around the media appearances is definitely generated from results. And I think Sam summed it up very well. Any other takeaways from today, Mike?
I mean, he did own the losing. He said, he's been a coach. He's been in the game for a while. He knows what Maryland means and what this program means and that this isn't meeting the standards. He's fully aware of that. He also name dropped, he ran all the hits when asked, how are you embracing Maryland? He brought up Johnny Holiday. He brought up Gary Williams. He brought up Ralph Friedgen. He brought up Mike Loxley.
He said James Franklin.
He said James Franklin? Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He was naming all the guys. I know Maryland. I'm trying to ingrain myself. So
reading books. He's reading books.
What a PR paper like presser, man. Like here's all the talking points we want you to hit on. Please mention them during the podcast or during the interview.
No, he's the GOAT at doing that. Do you guys think he doesn't have a computer?
No, that is
no. I don't believe that for a second. He also said he doesn't have a computer. He doesn't have email. which to be a college basketball coach in 2026, I find that
I'm not
pretty
gonna
hard
lie.
to do.
I'd be more concerned if he didn't have if he's telling the truth. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Like, you're not checking Ken Palm. Like, come on, Buzz.
No, he has an assistant printed out for him, probably. I mean, Buzz Williams is a fascinating human being.
I completely agree. One of the old relics of
He really, I mean, truly is. I mean, listening to his press conferences is just interesting, just like hear what he's going to say next, because it's like it might be the most fascinating tidbit about his life. It also might be about the fact that he hasn't opened a book yet. Like,
But either way, it's going to be a long answer.
Yeah, and the issue is a lot of them haven't been happening. I think like the immediate availability after the Minnesota game doesn't make too much sense to me because they just won a basketball game. That would be the greatest time ever for a coach who's got his second Big Ten win in history to go tell the press about how well they did and all the things they did right. That one was just like confusing to me because they actually won the game. If they lost, he doesn't want to do media. Like, I understand it. They lost. That one was a head scratcher for me, but obviously he didn't appear after the game. And no one really asked him that many questions about the Minnesota game today. So
He better have a good year next year, though, because this shtick that he's running right now as the kooky coach isn't gonna be running much longer.
we talked about it. We talked about it last week. If you can do whatever you want if you're winning games, right?
Exactly.
We'll see.
Team that does win games is John Tillman's lacrosse squad. First game of the season. Brendan, they had to move it inside. It got so cold out. But either way, inside, outside, desert, snow, whatever it may be, John Tillman's team is going to bring home the dough. Another win for the Terps in a season opener. Brendan, take us through Maryland's big win against Loyola.
Yeah, it was kind of exactly how I predicted it. Not to pat myself on the back, but the Yale transfers. I'll pat myself on the back. I've been Amir McLean. I mean, I should basically coach all the teams. No, the Yale transfers showed out. Leo Johnson had 5 goals. Chris Lyons had 4. By the end of the game, it seemed like they were just tooling with them. Braden Nurksa did not score, but he had 4 assists. Gave him that role to be more of a facilitator. This team has so much offensive star power. They let up 10 goals, but Brian Ruppel played pretty well. He had 10 saves. And the faceoffs, as I said, Maryland won faceoffs 21-10. Getting the best faceoff man in the country from the year before is probably a good recipe for success. Overall, a very solid game. Defense played very well on top of the offense. I know Maryland kind of rests on that 10-goal mark for their point in last season if they were going to win. The offensive star power, at least in last week's game, they scored 19, so the 10-goal mark didn't matter as much, and a few of the Loyola goals came in a bit more garbage time. Sam, you mentioned an indoor lacrosse game. Well, Maryland will have one more of those this weekend against Syracuse, actually on Friday. Syracuse obviously plays indoors. Top teams in the country, number 1 versus number 2. They're expecting a huge turnout there in Syracuse, New York. Should be a great game. Maryland beat Syracuse twice last year on the way to the national championship. I expect Maryland to take this one. I just think at this point in the season, the offensive production we saw from Maryland last week will carry them over. Yale transfers keep playing well, and the rest of the offense, plays similar to how they did last week. This team, assuming they can take care of business against Syracuse, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I would predict them to win that game. They're going to be well on their way to facing, as we said last week, a very tough schedule, and keep pushing through that and continuing to be the juggernaut that we expect them to be this year. But 1 week in, no bad news really to report after 1 week.
The opening game brought up an interesting debate of whether college lacrosse should be moved back into actually spring and not starting in February. Thoughts?
I did hear some discourse on that. I mean, playing in Jones Hill House, or what used to be Cole, it's basically the football practice facility. It kind of makes for some cool shots, but I think I have to agree. I think starting the season as early as February, obviously Maryland had a game canceled to start the season. It kind of ruins the sport a bit for the fan not being able to go, and there's just way too much happening right now. I would tend to be on the side of keeping the sport more in the spring, especially as it is played mostly in the Northeast and the North.
Yeah, I saw Mike Preston's column on that. I thought it was interesting. Also, like the history. I didn't know that they used to play it way more in the spring, but then like other schools and / like pro games kind of forced them to push it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there were some games in all the snow. I guess the timing of the snow from 2 weeks ago really kind of, and the cold front really kind of affected a lot of games up the East Coast. It's obviously why Syracuse plays indoors usually, but there were even some other games that had some weird start times and stuff got moved around just because of the snow and getting fields, clear. But it's definitely an interesting debate.
And now moving on to the baseball team for a baseball preview. They're starting this season Friday at UNC Wilmington. Of course, the big storyline this year, Matt Swope enters his third year as head coach of the program. No postseason appearances yet. Last year, they finished 27-29, missed out on the Big Ten tournament. It's the first losing season for the Dirty Terps since 2018. So obviously, there's still high expectations because of where this team was even just a couple years ago. And like we said, the past 2 seasons, I still think that they got talent on this team where they could make the postseason. Everything just has to come together, though, and issues from last year have to be fixed.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Mike, this team last year, the same issues that plagued it in Matt Swope's first year seemed to kind of hurt it in year 2. Swope is a program guy, right? We've had him on the show. Loves Maryland. I don't think anybody can question that. But at the same time, right, Rob Vaughn had this program at the peak of its powers before Swope came in. And I think everybody kind of expected the transition to go a lot smoother than this. If the same things that popped up in his first couple seasons as head coach, poor pitching, a shaky, kind of inconsistent offense, a lack of impact transfers, all things that he's supposed to control as head coach. If that pops up again in year 3, how worried are you about the future of him leading the Terps program?
He's going to be the coach next year. Get out of here. No matter what happens this season.
I'm not saying that he's not. I don't think that they're going to drop a program guy. I mean, and I like Matt Swope.
Look, I think it all comes down to pitching. It really all comes down to pitching for this team. Look at the losses that they had last year and the way they lost these series. It was all late. They did not have a closer. They were funneling through that position all season long. This year, you got Christopher Cespedes coming back for his sophomore year. Obviously, he has a nice arm. He has some velocity to him. And he had some bright spots last year. So you hope that Cespedes can move into that closer spot for this team because there is pitching depth there. There's guys where I can be like, oh, he could be a decent starter. They brought in Lance Williams from ECU. He's probably going to be this team's ace. You got Jake Yeager coming back for his sophomore year. He's obviously going to be in that starting rotation. Logan Hastings spent some time as a starter and a reliever last year. He's probably going to be in that relief role this year to help out of the bullpen, which I think is great for this team. But it all comes down to pitching. We can talk about how good it looks on paper. We did the same thing at the beginning of last year. It all just has to come together, and these pieces have to fit. And obviously the other big thing entering this year is Chris Akopian is gone. Chris Akopian is playing for Texas A&M this year. You're losing your Big Ten Player of the Year caliber.
Both Akopians.
Both Akopians. I mean, Eddie was going to be gone regardless. Chris, it was by decision.
I'm just saying they lost a couple of impact bats. Hollis Porter gone to the portal as well.
Kyle McCoy, that was your ace last year.
I mean, this team's roster looks worse than it did last year. We
don't know a lot of these guys either. Like last year's roster, we knew a lot of them. Swope was working in the portal this year. Obviously,
what has Swope told you about the prospects of this year's squad?
Prospects? Well, I'll tell you, watch out for shortstop Ty Kunis. I think he is going to fill that shortstop role for Chris Akopian. That's the word around the team that he's the guy. I mean, he's going to be starting shortstop as a freshman.
What about Bud Coombs?
Bud Coombs?
You've been a big Bud Coombs guy.
I've been a big Bud Coombs guy. Well, he had the foot injury during football season, so doesn't play at all during the football season, misses fall ball with the team. Now he's recovering from injury.
And he's still recovering from the foot injury?
Well, no, he's fine now. He's fine now. But, he's entering the winter, recovering from this injury, getting back to form. I still think he would start at center on Friday. Obviously, Braden Martin's probably the most impactful returner you're getting back from last year's roster.
Lambros done. That's
Lambros,
another guy we didn't mention.
Lambros gone. Calarco's gone.
A lot more questions than answers here.
100%. This team, I don't know, dude. If I had to pick this team, I would say they're more likely to finish in the bottom half of the Big Ten than they are to finish in the top half. And if that happens again, I think there are serious worries about Matt Swope.
I don't think Swope would be gone after this year.
I'm not saying that Swope is fired. I'm just saying there's a lot of concerns about him.
Jim Smith does not worry about the baseball team right now. Jim Smith does not care. I do think, though, if they're having a bad season and it's
and he's gone,
then yeah, you got to make a staff.
Nothing gets us fired up as much as these two things: hot seat and random baseball garbage. The fact that we've combined the two topics. This is elite podcasting, really.
I'm just saying that I think that this team has a lot of questions, as Brendan put, and that's the thing though with baseball, right? Those questions can be answered really quickly, right? Like guys that you don't know, you have no idea, can burst onto the scene, right? I had no idea who Hollis Porter was entering last season.
I mean, I was trying to tell you who he was.
No. Once you told us about Hollis, I was like, okay, he's gonna have a good year. But it's not like I was like, oh yeah, I've definitely been watching JUCO ball and I know how good Hollis Porter is, you know. But Swope has done the thing where he's pulled from really premium programs of like players who washed up. It seems like he kind of took a different route this year, went more of like the JUCO lower level productive level. So we'll see how that works out.
It was the JUCO level this year.
Not JUCO, more like the lower level, like D2.
You have guys like Ryan Costello. He's transferring from LSU. He didn't play much, but he was a high prospect entering college. He's coming in.
The pitcher they brought in, that guy wasn't from, where was he from again?
Lance Williams.
Yeah.
ECU? He got a win in the NCAA tournament against Florida.
Yeah, I mean, ECU is like, they're fine.
Okay. I mean, I get, you know, the level of hesitancy towards this team. I definitely get it. They were picked 13th. I can tell you the team definitely knows that. The team knows how low the outsiders think they'll be.
Oh, gosh forbid the outsiders think they're going to finish 13th in the Big Ten. Anyway, enough baseball talk. They'll play in the Bob here shortly. But yeah, that'll be a fun season to watch, and we'll keep you updated all throughout the year. Real quick, Brendan, let's hit on women's lacrosse.
They got a win over at Syracuse this past weekend. Lauren LaPointe scored 5 goals. Transfer Kristen Shanahan had 2. JJ Soriano, who just continues to get better and better throughout her time in College Park, had a very strong start to the year. She had 16 saves. She allowed 5 goals, but she really allowed 3. I mean, 2 of those were in garbage time. So strong start to the year. Soriano, Edmondson, who I haven't even mentioned yet, who's the star of this team, and Kayla Gilmore, all named to the Torton watch list. This team's got some talent. I think, you know, the issue with them last year is they had a lot of inexperience and they were younger, and they kind of filled some of those gaps in the sense of everybody's gotten older, brought in a couple transfers. So off to a strong start this year. And we'll have to watch the ride and see how it goes.
Brendan,
face off against UVA this weekend. Real quick, Sam, what you got?
More likely to finish with a national championship this year, Kathy Reese's squad or John Tillman?
Oh, the men's lacrosse team, by far. The men's lacrosse team is really, really, really good.
Okay.
It's possible they could not lose a game.
What would you, after one game, you're saying that? I mean, that's kind of crazy because a week ago you were telling us there's no way this team goes undefeated.
They look so good. Seriously.
They're playing Loyola. Inside.
Bro, who cares if the game... Whatever, dude.
I'm just saying, you're not usually one to switch up so quickly. You're a big body of work guy, and one game got you feeling really high on the Terps.
I just think that they were... All the pieces fell in place exactly in that game. As I said, if the two transfers from Yale played very well. I mean, I think they looked very good. What were we going to say about the odds?
Here's the other question I had. What are the odds that both teams make the Final Four?
Pretty high.
Okay, I didn't ask you, Michael.
I would not have as much confidence in the women's team. I mean, the thing is, the men's team makes the Final Four, pretty much without fail. It's just like they're in the Final Four again, obviously. I think they have a pretty good shot. I mean, Maybe it's the Big Ten's a little more wide open than we've thought in previous years. Not sure how much you guys have been following. Northwestern blew out BC to start the year in Chestnut Hill. And they then lost.
No!
Northwestern Women's Lacrosse lost at home against Colorado on Monday night.
I wonder if was coaching.
Well, was it? So, the Big Ten may be a little more open. They have one loss at the beginning of the season. I wouldn't sound a 5-alarm fire for Northwestern, but an uncharacteristic early season loss for them. So just food for thought as we head into this year.
Good stuff, B. That's it for our sports recaps.
You don't want to talk softball? 2-3 to start the year?
No, not really. Shout out Lauren and the team. We will talk Super Bowl stuff, though. Super Bowl ended. Michael, former Seahawks fan. Brendan, current Patriots fan. Michael's former team took home the crown. Drake May played like freshman bad Malik Washington. One of the worst Super Bowl performances I've ever seen, potentially, from a quarterback. Terrible game.
Get out of here.
Halftime show was sweet, though. In terms, though, of how the Terps connected, Stephon Diggs obviously played in the game. He had a quiet night, as exemplified by Drake May's atrocities that he committed. So, tough game for Stephon. But in honor of the Super Bowl being played, guys, I wanted to give you 10 trivia questions about Maryland-related Super Bowl stuff.
10-1-0?
10 trivia questions.
Oh, my
You guys
God.
can knock these out together. We're going to try to rapid fire.
As a team here.
Well, let's work as a team. We're not going to get this unless we work as a team,
Okay.
Mike. Come on.
So the first one is pretty easy. I'm going to be honest. Can you name the quarterback, the Maryland alumni quarterback?
Boomer Esiason.
Okay, already 0 for 1.
No, finish the question.
Who appeared, he won a Super Bowl after 4 prior attempts as a player. So he won it as a coach after 4 prior attempts as a player.
It's got to be someone from the Bills, right?
Say, this is someone from Buffalo. Who is this?
But the quarterback, Jim Kelly didn't go to Maryland. Oh my God.
I'm lost on this one.
What year did he win the Super Bowl?
I'm not giving you guys any more clues.
What?
It's ridiculous. Stop it.
You said he won it as a coach?
Or you guys are ridiculous.
Was he an executive? What was he?
No executive.
All right, next question two.
What's the answer to question one?
Frank Reich, you bozos.
Was he on the Bills? He was on the Bills.
Yeah, he was on the Bills.
That was kind of obvious.
All right.
Oh my
Terrible
God.
start for these two gentlemen.
All right, go.
Next question. Which Maryland Terrapin was the first from the school to win 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams?
So he has 4 total?
No, he
has. Oh God, Mike.
Teams. Jeez Louise.
A tough look for the math allegations. All right. He has 2 Super Bowls on different teams.
What position did he play? We gotta need something.
This is bad, boys.
We don't. Dude, this is so niche. What position did this guy play?
Wide receiver.
Ooh.
It's Torrey Smith, Ravens and Eagles.
There you go, Michael.
Nice, Mike.
Yeah, I will say getting the position helped a lot.
Yeah, but I'm not giving
obviously.
more of
All right. We're 1 for 2 with a hint. Come on.
This one's a tough one.
Oh, great.
Which Super Bowl featured the earliest appearance by a former Maryland player?
Loki could be the first one, but it could also be like the 16th one.
Yeah.
It probably was Randy White. I believe he played for the Packers. But I'll go Super Bowl 15. What do you got, Mike?
I'm riding with you.
You guys are it's just brutal right now. Brennan was close. Super Bowl 1, Tom Brown. He was a safety for the Green Bay Packers.
Why did we not guess the first one? Oh,
tough start.
There's a perp on that roster, bro. Tom Brown?
Of course, Tom Brown.
Terrific turp.
Currently 1 for 3.
Terrific turp, Tom Brown. My bad.
Maryland is one of few schools with multiple quarterbacks who've played in the Super Bowl. Can you name any one of them besides Frank Reich?
With multiple.
Name the quarterback?
Yes, the quarterback.
All right. Boomer is one.
Wait, who'd you say?
Boomer.
All right, we'll give you Boomer. I'll give you a bonus point if you can name a different one.
He was a backup.
Lord. I'm stumped to say the least.
We got the question. We'll take
Yeah, we got one of them. Who was the other person?
Okay,
Neil
great.
Neil O'Donnell.
Okay, yeah.
played-
We
All
were,
right, Mike. I feel good about not getting that.
He
yeah.
played for Maryland in the 80s. All right. Which Super Bowl saw multiple players, former Maryland players, on the winning roster? You can name the game and not the players.
Okay. All right.
And I'll give you a clue. It's happened within the last 15 years.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is either the Ravens or the Eagles.
I think this is actually a great point. Unless it was like the Rams a couple years ago with Jake Funk and somebody else.
Okay. It might have
Um,
been someone else on that Rams roster.
who else has won one from
You
Terps?
said 15. That's a long time range.
Who won? Torrey Holt would have won more recently with the Ravens. No, were you saying? No, sorry, that's not who you're.
No.
Torrey Smith. Yeah.
Torrey Holt.
He would have.
Jeez.
Ah, my bad. Did not. The issue was what year was that? You want the year of the Super Bowl?
Yeah, or you could, if you want to just say the teams that played in it, that's fine too.
I mean, it could be that Rams Super Bowl too.
I'm trying to think. I feel like it was just Funk though. But low key, there might have been a defensive player on the Rams. Should we go with the Rams Super Bowl?
I don't know. Who do you think was on that Rams roster?
I can't think of anybody else who would have been. Lord, yeah, I can't think of anybody else.
All right, let's ride with the Rams.
Let's go Rams Bengals.
Okay,
Yeah.
Super Bowl XLVII. It was the Ravens with Torrey Smith and Paul Williams. All right, 2 more questions.
This is tough. We're in a mental pretzel.
You guys
right now.
have gotten 2 right.
Let's get the final 2 points.
Brendan mentioned him earlier. Randy
My
White,
goat.
Maryland alum, won multiple Super Bowls with which NFL franchise?
Packers for sure.
Brendan is struggling.
Whoa, that wasn't our final guess, dude. What the heck?
All right, shit.
Cowboys? Where else did this guy play?
I'm feeling like St. Louis or like blue vibes.
I think it's either the Cowboys or the Packers, but I really don't know.
Good job with the Cowboys. We'll give you a half point.
Good shit.
Cowboys.
You didn't let me talk it out with my teammate. That was my final answer. Was the Cowboys?
Cowboys played in multiple Super Bowls.
Bleep that out, Brendan.
Yeah, I will.
I got
Last question for you. Can you name the Super Bowl in which Boomer Esiason was the starter?
I know what it's around.
I'm feeling 90s for sure. It's 90s for sure.
So you think it's
Do you think it's early or late?
no? I think it's early '90s. But
I'm thinking 91.
but what Super Bowl is that? It's like that's like Super Bowl Super Bowl. Let's go Super Bowl 32.
We can give the year.
Actually, wait. Hold up.
Go year. Let's give the year.
No. I can do the math. I'm trying to think who played in those games. I actually don't hate 32. It's not. You can tell it's not by Sam's face. This sucks. We did a terrible job. What's the answer, Sam?
I'm bad at Roman numerals, but I know this is not 32. It'd be 1989, so Super Bowl XXIII. Which one would that be? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, my math was terrible here. That was 23.
XXII.
Yeah.
That would have been
My math is terrible.
22.
Because 30 years ago, my math was bad. Actually, it would have been closer than I thought. But yeah. All right. Well, Sam, thanks for putting those together. Sorry we did not know ball.
That's
No problem. That was fun.
It was a good time. I'm now going to do something that I can go 1-0 in, which is the Terrific Terp. So let's do that. For this week's Terrific Terp, we got to head to the Diamond. Amber Jackson, who still holds the single season record for home runs for the Terps, is this week's Terrific Terp. Jackson played softball for 1 season for the Terps in 2007, where she hit 24 home runs and led the NCAA. Funny enough, she also had 56 RBIs and 55 walks that year. What a stat line for the hitter. Despite only playing 1 season, she is 4th all-time across all seasons in terms of total home runs, which is pretty wild. If she'd played 4 seasons here, she would totally have that record. But her first 3 years, she played at Bethune-Cookman, and she was a force to be reckoned with there. As a freshman, she was one of the best hitters in the country. She was named an All-American in all 3 seasons there, and in 2005, she hit .455. She led them to the NCAA tournament, and then she followed her coach Laura Watton to UMD. After her home run record season and securing her education degree with the Terps, she played for the Washington Glory in the National Fast Pitch Professional Softball League. In 2 seasons with the Glory, she won a Player of the Year award, but then the team folded operations. After a quick break, she came back to the Terps as an assistant coach. Then, in 2014, she was hired by Delaware State as their head softball coach. She was the MEAC Coach of the Year in 2016, but after 5 years with Delaware State and some losing seasons, she stepped down. She used that education degree and went to go serve as a teacher in Africa after that 2019 season. And since 2021, she's been the principal at Classic Christian High School. Pretty cool story for a woman who had an incredible bat during her time in college and in College Park. And for that, she's named this week's Terrific Terp.
And that was another great Terrific Terp to round off this episode. Thank you guys for listening. As always, you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere you want to find your podcasts. We are there. Have a good week.
You're listening to Under the Shell Podcast. After all these years, still the best in America.